and we're going. So as Ran had mentioned, this is being recorded so that you can come back to it at a later date and refer to it. Um, so yes, the today's session is going to be about our new radio frequency system. So let's first of all, let's just look at some basics of what a radio frequency system is. What are the pros and cons of using an RF system in as general principles? So the benefits of an RF system is that it's a very versatile system that can be used in a wide variety of different listening applications and listening situations. Um, it can be used as an assistive listening system, which is what Contacta specialize in, as a if you're not able to fit a loop system, but it's also good as a tour guide system as part of like museums and things like that as well. So it's a dual purpose system. One of the big advantages of the RF system is that there's negligible installation to consider. So simple installation, less planning required in comparison to, say, for example, a loop system where you have to do quite an intensive site survey and things like that. You still have to do a little bit of, consider a little bit about the environment for RF systems. For example, the EMI, that's environment. If you're wanting the system to use like neck loops, then it is a good idea to maybe just do a subjective listening test of the environment just to find out if there's any high levels, um, so that you can then advise the client to say, well, yes, we can provide an assistive listening system for you, but it's you maybe not be able to use the loops, but you can still use headphones, for example. Um, but the RF system is a very easy system to install. The signal isn't obstructed significantly by barriers such as walls and doors and ceilings and things like that. That obviously has pros and cons from the point of view of that you need to ensure that you use separate channels for separate systems. But it's good from the point of view that you can have the transmitter perhaps maybe installed in a different room next to the auditorium space, for example, and it'll work without any significant problems. Um, it's a lot of the components are battery operated using rechargeable batteries, and because of that, it's then makes it an incredibly portable system. It's really only the fixed rack-mounted transmitter that is mains powered. All the other components are battery powered. It can be used outdoors. So that's good for tour guide systems, and also maybe if you have, for example, if you have um, uh, like higher event hire business where you have external spaces that you need to cover, then the RF system will be able to accommodate that for you. It's got a good long transmission range. Again, that's subjective depending on the environment, but typically you can expect anything between 50 to 100 meters range, depending on what transmitter you're using and what the environment is. So it's got a good transmission range. Um, it has got a good audio frequency range from 70 hertz up to 12 kilohertz. So that gives you good quality, not just for speech, but also for music as well. And it has there's flexible configurations regarding, the different setups that you have for transmitters and receivers and charging options and listening options and such like. So it's a flexible system in that respect. So we then need to think about, well, what are the cons? what do you have to consider with RF systems? Um, One of the main things, of course, is because it's a a radio frequency system, it could be susceptible to RF interference if it's a particularly busy environment in that respect. Um, and again, this can sort of like limit the transmission range. Um, but certainly, on a practical level, certainly in our experience, and we've installed these systems in, lots of different environments in city, sort of like city centre environments and such like, where that kind of like, radio noise is more. We don't tend to find that that has caused us much of a problem. So if this does become a problem, then it's very rare. It's not something that happens that you will encounter regularly. An important point from the end user's perspective is that every user requires to use a personal receiver and have their hearing device equipped with a telecoil to use the system. Um, Other thing to think about also as well is that there's some level of sound latency due to the signal processing and such like. Um, Again, it's within sort of like acceptable limits, but this is something which you would need to assess as well. Um, Getting back to this point of, the hearing aid wearers require additional equipment to use the system. So this then needs to be managed by, front of house or reception staff or something like that. That consideration has to be made with regards to who's going to manage that, who's going to make sure that the components are cleaned, that they're charged and such like. Um, so these are all things that we have to consider with an RF system in comparison to, say, an induction loop system, where once it's installed, effectively that's it. That's, there's no further input required from the either the service provider or even indeed the hearing aid wearer. All they really need to do is just flick the switch to the telecoil, and it works for them. With RF system, there's these receivers that need to be used. So let's look at the two sort of like main sort of like applications that we use our RF system at Contacta. This is an example of the principle for the assistive listening application. So you can see here that we have a sound source that can be anything from a live microphone or the output from a mixer or a sound desk going into the fixed transmitter, which then emits its signal, which is picked up by the receiver. And again, there's an unlimited number of receivers that can be used. So basically that's the general principle for an assistive listening setup. Now, this can be a huge auditorium or a small intimate conference room, for example. It can be it can cover a wide variety of sizes of space. The other configuration is the tour guide system. And again, this is something which we have sold a lot of in the UK for especially museums, national trust places where it's like, monuments, places of interest, where you will have a number of different tour guides taking place simultaneously. And that's perfectly able to do using a portable transmitter set to a specific channel, and then another group will be set to another channel, etc., etc. And each individual group can have any number of receivers. So you're not limited to the number of participants per group. And this is effectively how the tour guide system would work. So going into a bit more detail now of the new Contacta RF system. So we have it's the system that we had previously used the 2.4 gigahertz frequency, which was used by it's a a common frequency used by Wi-Fi systems and such like. And we found that it was more susceptible to um, interference, and we found that the range that you could get was unreliable. It was difficult to predict how good the range was going to be, purely and simply because of the environment could change quite considerably. Using the 865 megahertz frequency range. Again, this is license free as well. This is a license free frequency range. It tends to be a less busy frequency range to use, and therefore we find that you get a more reliable range from the system. So we have to think of, these the RF system can be used with a number of different listening options, whether they be headphones or neck loops. And there's a number of different transmitter options as well, depending on the individual application. So we have handheld microphones and the large scale rack-mounted transmitters. So we've got everything to suit each individual application. So how does our system compare to our previous one? What's new, and what's the improvements? Certainly, the first major improvement when you compare the two systems is the sound quality. The sound quality from this system is better from the point of view of it. The frequency range is from 70 to 12 kilohertz, and that means that it can handle speech and music and give you a greater quality of sound. And I would say that's the one of the biggest differences. Another one is the transmission performance. Again, because we're using the 865 or 915 megahertz range, it gives you a more consistent frequency or a more consistent performance. Um, to give you an example, when we were using the 2.4 megahertz frequency range, if it was an empty space, an empty auditorium, then you would get a good frequency range because there wasn't much interference. As soon as that auditorium filled up with people, all these people have their own mobile devices, mobile phones, etc., and therefore the frequency or the noise within that environment is far greater, and therefore the range from your system is much reduced because of the noisy environment that it has now finds itself in. You don't tend to get this problem with using this other frequency as much. So it gives you far more predictable results. Again, you have a built-in variable frequency, a variable range, like power range of the RF signal as well. So you can extend or reduce the range depending on the application that you have. Um, Smart programming, this is particularly good for like high volume installations where we've got new intelligent charging bases where you're able to do very quick programming of a large number of devices in one go. So it's a great time saving feature. We're going to go more into more detail about that later on in the presentation. But the smart programming is really a really good feature from the point of view of the venue operator being able to set up their system quickly. The other good thing as well is that we have, it's a high quality displays, which, is backlit, and it's just, it's better quality. It just gives you a more enhanced experience for the end user as well in using the system and in setting it up. So the charging is done via, we have two versions of chargers. So there's multiple, charging options, and different, cases and such like that can be, provided for portable systems. Um, the accessories, effectively, we have a comprehensive um, accessory range, which is included in the kit. It's not something that you have to add on as an extra. It's everything that you require is included in the kit. And so you don't have to worry about when you're ordering things. You don't have to worry about having to, ensure that you've remembered to order this particular component or that one. Everything is included in the kit. Um, we have there's a software option as well, which allows you to, using your computer or laptop, yeah, it allows you to the interface with the components, and again, it's an easier way of being able to set up the individual receivers and transmitters more quickly and more efficiently. Um, the audio connectivity is much superior as well. We have got balanced XLR connections. It has an inbound Bluetooth connection and phantom power for mic connection, and there's also a Dante version of our fixed rack-mounted transmitter, which these all these options weren't really available on the previous system that we had. So these are our key components. Effectively, three of these are the transmitters, which are these three here are transmitters, and you've got the one receiver that obviously works with all of these. And we're going to go into detail, for with each of these different components for you. But just quickly here, you've got your rack-mounted transmitter for larger installations. Um, the radio transmitter here, a belt pack transmitter, which is used again primarily for like tour guide systems, for example. And then for particular applications where they maybe require using a handheld microphone, then we've got a handheld transmitter as well. The good thing is that of all these three transmitters, they share a lot of the same features. So they're feature packed for all of them. So let's look at the rack-mounted transmitter to begin with, and what the key features of this unit are. We've mentioned, up to now, you've probably noticed that we're using like 865 megahertz and 915 megahertz. Now these are license-free frequency bands that we're able to use. Now, in the United Kingdom and in Europe, then the 865 megahertz range is what we use. However, in the United States and in Australasia, it's 915 megahertz. So just be mindful, depending on where you are in the world, that you order the correct frequency. So it's got high quality digital audio transmission. So it's using a superior method of transmitting the sound. It has a range of power transmissions from low, mid, and high. Again, depending on what your applications are. You may have an application or an installation where you have many of these being installed in, say, for example, a school or a university, where you may want to just have the power level set to low to restrict the sound to a particular area. And therefore it cuts down on the sort of like the overspill into other parts of the development. just by changing or selecting the correct power level. Again, if it's a large auditorium or whatever, then you would set high. So you've got this flexibility to be able to to set the power level depending on what the application is. As we mentioned previously, it has that higher level of sound quality. The frequency range is between 70 and 12 kilohertz. And that's good for speech and for music. For the 865 version, we have 42 selectable channels. And for the 915 version, we have 25. So it's a reduced number of channels. The 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 integration, the sound integration of this unit is good from the point of view of that you have balanced mic and line level input, an auxiliary input, and also you've got inbound Bluetooth connectivity as well. So you've got a range of different inputs that you can put into this unit. And in many ways, and I'm quite sure in many situations, it does away with the need for a separate piece of equipment. So, for example, a small mixer or something like that. Depending on what the actual application is, you might not actually need to use, or employ a different bit of equipment because it has these features, built into this particular unit. So, we've got phantom power, and want to sort of point out that we have a Dante version of this available as well. Hmm. So let's go into a little bit more detail here. The And this effectively just shows you sort of like the flexibility of like the control that you have of all the different sort of like inputs. Um, so you have the your Bluetooth button here. So you just press that, and that will then tune into whether it's a mobile device or whatever that's providing the Bluetooth audio source. This is maybe quite useful for if you have an application where it's actually difficult to set up a wired connection for whichever reason. If you have a Bluetooth transmitter, then that allows you, easier ways of connecting or getting an audio source to the unit. It's an intuitive sort of like shuffle and jog dial here, where you effectively, you dial in the settings and then press the knob to make your selections. So it's quite an intuitive way of being able to make changes to the settings. And then you have sort of the different levels for your microphone and your auxiliary level. So you can adjust the volume levels of this to ensure that you're getting the um, adequate audio input levels. Now look at the rear of the unit here. You can see here this is it's a single 50 ohm antenna connection here. We have a loop in and loop out. Now, what this is for is that you're actually able to like daisy chain or cascade a number of these different units, but by just using one audio input from the combo input here. So this could be a microphone input, or it could be a line level input, balanced as well. And this can be daisy chained through the loop in and loop out. So you don't have to, duplicate the number of audio inputs. You basically just have one, and it'll cascade to other units using the loop in loop out feature. And then here you can see here we have this is quite useful as well is that you have this cable grip, um, which again, a lot of other units don't have this. It's a relatively simple feature, but it's certainly very good from the point of view of that it ensures that you can your connectors are going to be secure and they're not going to accidentally be pulled out. Moving on to our handheld microphone unit. Um, Again, it has many of the features of the fixed rack-mounted transmitter, as it comes in the two frequency options. And it again, the handheld microphone, it transmits the sound directly to groups of receivers, just the same as the fixed transmitter. It's got the same number of channels, and the output transmission range can be variable as well. So you've got low and high. So low is 1 milliwatt, so that's for really small applications, and high, which gives you a greater range. I think when we tested this, you can reliably get up to about 50 meters or so of range using the handheld transmitter. As it has the same high quality sound due to the greater bandwidth, the same as what the fixed transmitter has. Um, and it's supplied with, it comes with two standard AA batteries, but it will also accept rechargeable batteries as well. And there's a USB port um, which is available for charging the rechargeable batteries. It has a mute button of which you can program it depending on how you want to use it. So it can be either permanently switched on or switched off, or press to talk, or press to mute. So you have it's flexible in so much that you have different features depending on what the application that you want to use it as. Finally, we have the TX1 belt pack transmitter. Once again, remember it comes in the two versions, frequency versions, and this has a high power transmission range, and again you're able to vary that power. So you've got for low, mid, and high. So you can see here that with high, you're getting up to 20 milliwatts. So you're getting a good range with that. Typically anything between sort of like 50 and 70 meters in a inside environment, for example. Certainly when we've tested it, that's what we've been able to get out of it reliably. One thing to notice about the belt pack transmitter is that it has adjustable microphone sensitivity. And this is important because it depends on what type of microphone that you're using with it. Here we've got showing you here the tie clip or lapel microphone, um, which maybe you would require a sort of like medium high or high sensitivity to pick that up. Whereas if you're using a ear or head mounted microphone, then you might need to reduce that sensitivity. So you've got that option to be able to make these adjustments. Want to mention here also is that you have a 3.5 millimeter jack sound input. So this allows you to actually put in, the output from maybe for example an MP3 player, or um, uh, or a mobile device, a mobile phone, for example. So you're able to input rather than just being a microphone input, you can actually put a line level input as well. Now the standard performance or the battery life of this is about 8 hours um, on a full charge. Um, it takes just to make a note of how long does it take to charge up again. Um, it's roughly about between 4 and 6 hours it takes to fully charge the unit from flat. So it gives you 8 hours battery life on a full charge, and then to get that range back again, you need to charge it for 4 to 6 hours. So this is a receiver. So the receiver here is obviously can be used with any of the transmitters. Again, you have to make sure that you select the correct frequency. And it has, again, obviously the transmitters are providing, good high quality sound, and obviously the receivers are able to reproduce that as well. You have three volume settings. You may require, say, for example, if you're using a neck loop, then you may require to use a high level of volume to ensure that sufficient signal. Whereas if it's if a sensitive set of headphones that are being used, like for example maybe earbuds, then perhaps the low volume level is sufficient. The unit comes supplied with rechargeable batteries, and also it comes with the lanyard for round the neck wearing, a belt clip, and it has the earphones and micro USB charging cable as well. That all comes as part of the kit, so you don't have to actually order that separately. That comes as part of the receiver kit. The battery life that you get with the receivers is 10 hours, and similarly with the belt pack transmitter, TX1 transmitter, it takes 4 to 6 hours to charge from fully flat to a fully charged unit. What's good with the not only with the transmitter but the receivers as well is that you have a selectable on-off switch for this. Allows you to basically program the receivers so that when you lift them out of the charging bays, that will automatically switch the unit on for you. And similarly, when the unit is handed back, you put it back into the charging dock, it will automatically switch it off. It seems to be quite a simple feature, but you can imagine if you've got a number of these to handle a high volume of these, then the time saving aspect of the not having to like press the button for a couple of seconds each time to switch the unit on or off, it just does it automatically. So this is part of the sort of like the one of the smart features of of the system in general, but the receivers and the charging dock. So as I was mentioning, earlier about the receiver, that it comes with a kit of different accessories. We really just wanted to sort of like highlight the accessories that come as standard with the kit. I know that with maybe with other perhaps other competitor brands where you have to ask for each individual sort of like accessory component separately. Um, this is what we include in our kits for each of these different components. So for the TX1 and the RX1, basically you have, so the TX1, you've got a lapel microphone that comes as standard, the charging cable, the belt clip and lanyard. It comes with the rechargeable batteries as well. So everything comes in the box that you require to use the system. Um, with the rack-mounted unit, it comes with the power supply, and it comes with the 19-inch rack-mounted bracket as well, so it can actually fit it. You can fit it onto an AV rack. Has the earth grounding cable with the fixing screws, and it's got comes with the rod antenna as well. Um, with the handheld unit comes with two standard alkaline batteries. But again, as you know, we can provide rechargeable batteries as well if that's your preference. As we've just mentioned with the receiver, that has this, a number of different accessories, the lanyard, the USB power charging cable, um, set of earbud headphones, and the rechargeable batteries. And also these accessories are available in stock separately as well. So, over a period of time of use, if something gets broken or lost or whatever, then you're able to order up these accessories as individual components, and we can send them out to you immediately. So the listening options, effectively with the because it's either a tour guide system that you're using it as, or an assistive listening system, then it's effectively headphones or neck loops as your listening options. Um, just to point out with the neck loop lanyard here is that the as a safety feature, the one of the tails here actually breaks out free. Um, it's a kind of like an anti-ligature feature, a safety feature as well, um, which it comes in standard with the neck loops. Um, we provide a standard over-ear headphone, but again, obviously you can use any headphone that's got a 3.5 mm jack on the end of it, which means that a particular individual can use their own private headphones if they wish. It also comes with these earphones, the earbud earphones. These actually come as with the kit. They come with the um, with the receiver as standard. This is the rack-mounted kit here. Um, So this allows you to, if this is obviously a lot of AV cabinets are metal, so you can bring the antenna from inside the metal box to the exterior using this small extension cable here, and that just ensures that you're getting the maximum range out of the system. These are the three earphone options that you can have, either behind the ear or behind a head-mounted microphone, and the lapel microphone. And remember, when we said about the belt pack transmitter having the different microphone sensitivity levels, depending on what type of microphone that you're using, you can adjust it to uh, get the best performance out of it. These are our charging options, and this is compatible with both the TX1 transmitter and the RX1 receiver. We have two charging bays, one that's a 24 bay, and another is a smaller one, which is a 6 bay. So this is it's a smart unit from the point of view of that it doesn't just charge the receivers or the transmitters up. You can actually program them from this as well. So what you do is that we have a master dock here at the front. So you set up your initial receiver to whatever settings you require, and place it into this charging dock here, and then just by pressing a couple of buttons on the display here on the charger, you can simultaneously program all these other receivers to match have the same um, settings. And you can imagine that if you have a high volume level of um components or systems like this, the time saving aspect of this, as opposed to having to charge each one individually. We have a smaller version here, which is a 6 bay one. Again, it has the same features as the larger 24 bay, in so much that you can um, set up one receiver and place it in the dock, and it will automatically um, program the other ones to be the same. There's a USB connector on the 24 bay charger, which allows you to connect to a PC, and this is where you can use the software again to program the units if you so wish. The charging bay actually can be removed from the flight case here, so you don't actually have to have the case as part of the system. You can basically just order the charger just on its own. Um, this is particularly useful, obviously, for if it's a fixed installation in in an auditorium or something like that, where this is going to be um, set up in a back room or something that's never going to be moved, then you don't need the case. But obviously, if you've got like a tour guide system or a portable system that you're going to be moving from one venue to the next, then obviously a flight case is beneficial. We also have a flight case option for the 6 bay charger as well. So these are things that we're working on at the moment to kind of enhance the accessories and the usability of the system that we have. So we're creating sort of like tour guide pre-built kits, depending on what the particular application is. So for example, we maybe have a 6 bay kit with uh, or a 6 bay kit with a transmitter. Um, Similarly, with the assistive listening pre-built kits, we'll have to think of, for example, if it's going to be portable, then where do you store the headphones? Where do you store the neck loops? So as part of a kit, it would be, one, contained within one case, for example, and it makes it easier to manage and to transport. We're also, developing remote external antennas. This is for, large installations, or maybe perhaps where, for example, if the rack-mounted transmitter is, located remotely from where the auditorium space is, then, we're able to effectively move the antenna into the space it's required in. So, that's we're looking at kits for that, and antenna extension cables to enable us to do that. So, going back to the what we're seeing at the very beginning, effectively there's two different ways that we can use this system. As an assistive listening system in this an auditorium environment, either using a neck loop or headphones. So you've got that flexibility. If somebody turns around and says, "Oh, we can't use or we can't install a loop system or we can't use the telecoil or whichever," then we're still able to provide a system, an assistive listening system, by using the headphones. This is also pertinent for situations where maybe perhaps the user, their hearing aid, doesn't have the telecoil device installed. How are they able to then, use the system? Well, again, we can use headphones as an option. And then we have the tour guide system. So here, you've got the tour guide with his ear-mounted microphone, and it is able to, speak to the group. And again, it's unlimited the number of people that can be within a particular group. Does anybody have any questions regarding the RF system?
I don't see anything on the chat
No, no, there
either,
isn't.
James, which tells me you've done a good job. Um,
Is there anything, Ran, that you maybe like to add regarding?
no, maybe
Thank
just to
you.
add, maybe just to the previous slide where we talking about what's coming or what or coming soon. Um, the tour guide kits are basically kits of they're going to be kits of 1, 6, 12, and 24 units. The assistive listening pre-built kits will be 6, 12, and 24 units. And basically, this is more of a to make life easier. If you want to order a system for an existing project you are working on, you order the pre-assembled kit and you know that you get everything you need in the kit, starting from transmitter, power supply, headphones, earphones, neck loops, the receivers as well, of course, and you know that everything is inclusive, rather than having to build your own kit. So if you have a project that requires 20 or 24 receivers, you will be able to order the entire system using one code. Um, it's just to make life easier for set installations. Other than that, I think you've covered everything. And I don't see any questions, so I guess what's left is just to say thank you for joining us. We do have one more webinar. It's our last one for this year, which will be in a couple of weeks' time, I believe, on the 14th.
That's right. That's going to be on Windows intercom
On the
systems,
window
I believe. Yeah.
intercoms. That's right. And that will be our last webinar for this year, the 9th and final webinar. So I invite everyone to join that. It's going to be an interesting one. Any questions, of course, after this webinar, you can